Welcome to Advanced Nurses. We connect with nurses who inspire other nurses by sharing their experiences. And so we're able to bring that information to you. Hello, I'm an educational consultant with Advanced Nurses at ACD4N, and today I have Nurse T with me. Nurse T is an experienced nurse with a pretty interesting background and also pretty interesting goals in nursing. I think that for me personally, I was pretty impressed. I think you will be impressed as well. And so I just want to start off by just having you just give me, if you don't mind, a brief background around where you're coming from in nursing, your nursing career, and like what you're doing now in nursing.
Okay, sounds great. Hello, I am Nurse T. I currently am an RN, BSN, as well as a doctoral student of nursing. And my background stems pretty deep in nursing. I was a CNA for 8 years before becoming a nurse. And I've been also a nurse now almost for 8 years as well. I currently work in a hospital setting as well as owning my own home care agency company. That is where I'm servicing the community that I'm part of, going into the community, taking care of people in their homes, employing caregivers and CNAs to keep people in their homes. I also have a role within my church community. We do a lot of volunteer work. We do a lot of reaching out to the community as far as homelessness, things like that. And we do a lot of things with other churches as far as with the community and whatnot.
You do very important work. And I just want to just echo this because currently I'm dealing with a family member, or caring for a family member who had like a rapid onset of dementia. And honestly, with everything that I'm taking care of for this family member, including in some cases actually helping her husband out as well. And we're talking about everything from managing finances, doctor's appointments,
Yes.
caregiver, making sure there's around the clock care for, this individual, my family. I just, I say, and I say it to my sisters all the time. I'm like, this is the reason why people are paid to do this. This is very intense. You need people that you can trust. You need to understand systems. You need to be able to make a decision at the drop of a hat. There's
Yes.
also there are also times where things happen and they were predictable things that you have some safeguards in place for, and then there's some other things that happen and you just never seen them coming. Even if there was a potential, you thought it was like down the road, and then it's like, no, actually it's tomorrow. And
Right.
so
Right.
with all of that, I do so appreciate the fact that you have found a calling and have answered that call to actually fill that gap in nursing. Because if I don't know anything else about nursing, because I never worked in a hospital setting, I've always worked in that community setting.
hmm
I know for a fact that this is an area of healthcare, this care management, keeping people safe in their homes, especially community dwelling elderly or individuals who have any kind of like physical limitations. These are like services that you just really can't put them into like the real value that they provide until
Right.
you need it. And like when
Right.
you need it, it's a relief when it's there and you can call someone that can help you navigate that. So thank you so much for the
Absolutely.
work that you're doing in that space.
It's definitely a passion of mine now because I see so many people they get in a predicament where they're like, "Oh my God, I didn't even know I needed this." And the fact of the matter is, God forbid we die young, but if we get older, these services are going to be needed for everyone. And we're just so underprepared. We are undereducated with this area. And so I'm grateful to be able to help people in their most vulnerable times. It's definitely not easy, but it's so incredibly rewarding because people need this and they don't know that they need it until they need it. But if that makes sense, and it's needed seriously so much. So thank you so much.
Oh, definitely. So can you tell me, what advice would you give to nurses around work-life balance? And I say this because like since about maybe let's say 2001, we had that international, emergency, and so many things in healthcare was kind of put out there. A lot of people who didn't really understand what was going on in the background in healthcare kind of
Mhm,
seeing like a kind of ugly, yucky side of healthcare.
mhm,
I think it was good in a certain sense because to a certain degree, it did put things out there. People who may were possibly interested in going into the healthcare field kind of either directed themselves maybe in other areas of healthcare that wasn't so like patient facing because
mhm.
of what we had to endure as far as that's who were anyone who was working in a on the front line, so to speak. So I guess what I'm saying is because of those changes that we observed, you know, and even the changes around the advancements in technology and the sharing of information, I think has a huge impact as well because now you have YouTube, you have Instagram, you have so many different spaces,
Right,
Facebook, where people can just share TikTok, where people
right.
can share their experiences in healthcare, specifically in nursing, and can support each other with, options around other things to do within healthcare or outside of work to kind of make it all work. Like, what is your thoughts around work-life balance for nursing?
So my thoughts really for work-life balance is, and this may kind of be a little taboo, but when I try to be present wherever I am. So when I'm at work, but when I leave work, that is where it stays. And I know that that's very difficult for us because we're very caring human beings. We worry about, oh, I wonder if that patient, ended up getting placed correctly. I wonder if, they got the help that they need. But it's very important for me when I leave work that I leave work. And it's not that I don't care about it anymore. It's not that it's, not important, but if you continue to conflate the different areas of your life and conjoin them, that is when stress becomes at an ultimate high. That is when you begin to notice that your relationships are suffering, or when you notice when your health is suffering because you're conjoining different things. And I say it like it's an easy thing, and it's not very easy to be able to leave work at work, and trying when you're at work to leave the personal problems behind because your phone is ringing. It's not easy. So it is a practice, it's an art that you have to do. And so I would just say you just have to practice that when you're hanging out with your family. If you have a something planned, try to be present in the moment, try to be present and enjoy whatever it is you're doing. If your child has a game, be engaged, making sure you're taking pictures so you can capture the moments. Or if you don't have your phone, we're so attached to our phones. So really my advice for work-life balance is be present with what you're doing, and because that other thing is going to be there whenever you pick it back up.
Wow, great response because the reality is you can only be at one place at a time.
Yeah,
And I
period.
think we tend to believe that, especially when we have all of these mobile devices, you have tablets, you have work phones and everything. And so if you're
Right,
walking around with both of your phones, you feel so empowered, like, look, I can do it all. And
right.
then you find yourself being at, I know this happened to me the other day. I was I went to a program that was being, hosted by my son's school. I go
Mhm,
to the program, but then my head is down and I'm responding to an email.
mhm,
His
mhm.
class walks on the stage to do their performance. Thank God there was two, but they go up on the stage to perform, do their part of the performance. And I missed the whole thing, responding to an email. And I
Right,
didn't realize it until I seen them coming down the stage and walking down the
right,
stairs. I'm like, "Oh my God, they were just on the stage." But like you're
right,
saying, it's
right.
like you have to be present. And it does become really tricky when you
Yes,
have this whole idea around, well, if I have my cell phone with me, I can ping this one, I can respond to this one, I can look at
right,
this chart, I can look at this. And, again, like you said, you can only be at one place at one time. I
right.
think it also becomes more difficult too when we start to trick ourselves around like different shifts. So if you're
Right.
working overnight and you think, well, in the daytime I could do this, and you're not realizing that you're not sleeping.
Absolutely.
And so rest is important, nurses.
Mhm. And that
Can't
becomes a
do it
whole
without.
nother problem. So
This is
absolutely.
true. So I wanted to know what your thoughts was around the future. for nurses. I know my services has always been tailored around helping nurses get to that next level and like brainstorming with nurses. And
Mhm.
so, what I do in my services is I do one-on-one consultations with nurses who, maybe they don't know what they want to do, or maybe they specifically know what they want to do, but they're finding that they're kind of getting to like different roadblocks. And so for some of them, it's as simple as helping them kind of use AI to assist them with writing a resume or cover letters. Some others, it's helping them kind of, brainstorm around other resources. For instance, if they're interested in certifications, kind of directing them to, those organizations that may help them with either preparing for the certifications or issue certifications so they can kind of, get connected to, those resources and what that body of knowledge looks like. And it's different for everyone. But for me, I really try to help nurses kind of look at that next step. I find
Mhm.
that most nurses, after about 4 or 5 years of doing the same thing, they either want to go probably even sooner than that. I mean, I've seen some
Mhm.
statistics that say about 2 years, most nurses are ready to kind of transition into something different. Now, I do believe that nursing is very dynamic. So I would hate a nurse to think for nurses to think that they have to get out of nursing in that 2 years. But again, without knowing the resources and options out there, most nurses probably really would probably feel stuck if they're in an area of nursing that they're not enjoying any longer,
Right.
whether that's inpatient or outpatient or case management or telephonic. Again, remote jobs aren't necessarily um, all glamorous. You have some remote jobs where every single thing you're doing is being monitored, and therefore it's no fun.
Right.
You have remote jobs that are not truly remote. Some of them are really hybrid, but they say that they're remote, and then
Right.
they're like it's kind of hard to kind of navigate when you need to show up and be present at on site, whether it's in a home or at a provider's office. So with navigating all of that, I really try to again help connect nurses with resources to empower them to advance to that next level. What do you think? Have you seen uh, the like maybe some key aspects around what nurses can do to level up or upskill or advance within the profession?
So I would really say this is, we're living in a different time. And if you don't like what you're doing, there is nothing stopping you but you. Um, and I'm a millennial, so I'm in that middle where it's like, our parents stayed at a job that they hated for 40 years until they retired. And then the younger generation, literally, they're okay with um, changing jobs every week. And I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. As far as if I'm not happy somewhere, I'm planning my exit. But I do know that you can't just quit. That's just not how things work. And not just for financial aspects, but because every place that you work or everything that you do within nursing, it teaches you something. And that is why I feel that, and this is not saying anything boastful, but this is why I feel like I'm valuable wherever I go, because I do have a lot of different diverse things in my background. I have a little stint in labor and delivery. I have ER experience. I have a little bit of home health. Like, I have a bunch of different things, and that's because whatever I need to learn from that, I feel like once I learn it, I get it, I understand it, then hey, it's time to move on, if that makes sense. So, don't jump too quick, because something is always there to teach you. I did travel nursing, and there were some assignments where I absolutely hated, but I learned a lot from them, whether it be professionally, personally, spiritually. I learned something from that, and that is going to help bring value to your nursing career for wherever you go. You don't have to stay in a job forever that you hate, but you do have to learn from it. And I'm not sure if I answered your question, but that's kind of how I feel about, nurses being able to level up, is you have to learn wherever you are, whether it's somewhere you hate or love, because even if you love something, even if you love a job, it's not going to be that way forever. Coworkers are going to leave, bosses are going to change, all these different things. So nothing ever stays the same, and you just have to remember to learn and grow with wherever you are.
Oh, that was an excellent response. I can tell you, I'm big on telling nurses to, leave and go where you feel like your talents are going to be used and where you're happy. But I'm also very big, probably more than not, to tell nurses, you know, personally, never leave a role without first making sure that you have learned everything you need to learn in that
Right.
opportunity. I look at roles as opportunities. And I say that to say it's not just about the benefits. It's not just about the tuition reimbursement. It's not just about the 401k. It's also really about finding out what it is, what led you there, what were
Right.
you trying to get in that role, and did you get that thing? Or
Right.
has the time passed and God has called you on, or you know, your profession, you're feeling this desire, like I need to move on to something else. I'm not happy anymore here. I'm not
Right.
satisfied anymore here,
Right.
or I've learned what I needed to learn. And again, like you said, things change. You could have a manager that was offering letting you do what you needed to do to be great, so to speak. If you needed that work-life balance around maybe some changes in your schedule, you're in school, you need time to,
Mhm.
for your
Mhm.
clinical, because again, I'm in school, you share with me you're also in school, so you need to be able to balance that out. You may have managers that understand that they themselves may be in school and understand it, and then you could have some other managers who hasn't been in school in years, and for them they don't even understand why you're back in school. I've had
Exactly.
managers that literally said it to me. I was working for this major insurance company, which I that's what I've been doing since about 2018, working on the payer side, and they offered great benefits. And I was just sharing with my manager that I was interested in a project management program, and she said, "Okay, I'll make sure that happens for you." And then we were having like I guess somewhat of a one-on-one. It was myself and another supervisor, but my manager was leading this session, and this was just like a touch base, wanted to make sure, everything was going good in our department. And then she just casually brings up, "Oh, I hear that, you're interested in this program." Of course she knew. She had to
Right.
approve the payment for it. But
Mhm.
then she quickly says, "Oh, I don't know I would be going back to school for. Like, what value do you think it's going to add?"
Right.
And and
Right.
and again, there's no real judgment there, because if she is not interested in going back to school or learning something new or upscaling in any way, then for her, she probably doesn't see the value, and it just seems like maybe just busy work and wasting time.
Right.
So I mean, everybody has a different perception on it, but I think that it's always important for you to find out, what did I learn and what can I do now to maximize this opportunity? If you're working, for example, um, I distinctly remember having a session with a nurse who was interested in transitioning to CDI, and
Mhm.
she completed a training program, and she said, "I'm ready to, really maximize, what I learned, apply my knowledge." And I said, "Well, what are you doing now?" She's like, "Oh, right now I'm working with children, and I'm just trying to get out of that setting. I want to move into a different, work with a different population." And I said, "Well, you know what? Find out what you can learn and how you can apply the information at where you're at." Like, I'm sure a lot of what you were studying was not necessarily pediatrics per se. It was probably focused more on adult medicine. But even if that's where the focus is, we're still talking about human beings. We're still talking about medical records.
Right.
We're still talking about ICD-10 codes. And so you should be able to apply the information where you're at,
Right.
and then again, if you find that there's not really much more you can get from that space, then understand where's the next space that you need to go to really maximize that learning opportunity. I am truly a lifelong learner. I sense
Right.
that from you as well.
Right.
So
Yes, absolutely.
yeah, I see all of it as opportunities to learn. So I do want to learn more about your services, and also where nurses get in contact with you. Um, and you can start with your services. And also, we did talk a little bit prior to this chat here. So I do know that you do have like an emphasis on also helping nurses with that work-life balance. And I really want to double down on that, especially now, because
Mhm.
there's so much out there about nurses just not necessarily always being happy or satisfied with what they see as the future of nursing. So I kind of just want to know first about your services and where people can where nurses can get in contact with you, and then also about your services around kind of like helping nurses to navigate, um, I guess, some of the more difficult settings that often we have to work in as nurses.
Okay, awesome. So I really, as far as my services, I right now it's not necessarily specific. It is more social media based. So you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and a website called Yes, I'm Just the Nurse. Exactly how you say it, that's how you spell it. And really, I want to provide nurses with this outlet, with this advice, if that makes sense, as well as my YouTube. I apologize, forgot my YouTube. I base my life is faith based. That is just where I come from, and my goal really toward my social media is to help that balance as well. My social medias on kind of like the TikTok and Instagram side, more educational, more advice questions and whatnot. Obviously, I don't um try my best to get out of the sticky situations as far as like, I don't want to be giving advice to where, if I'm gonna defer and say, you need to talk to your healthcare provider. But my YouTube really is more faith-based. I want, more stories. People can email me, what do I do about this, about that when it comes to your faith and your health and your physical being, your mental being, all that tying into it. That's where my YouTube, that's where my passion and my purpose is to help women and men and boys and girls, everybody really, to find their faith-based, their passion, how everything works together. We know as nurses that everything works together mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and I really want to provide a support to us with that. And it's not just for nurses. I want people to know that it is, I want to see the human being, us, be whole. I want us to see us be healthy. I want us, to see us thrive in the area that we're supposed to. So, I can provide you with my email. You can send emails, questions, comments, concerns, anything like that. And then I will definitely, be reaching back out to you, making videos with that, and just connecting with people. Even this platform right here, it's so awesome that you found me on Instagram, and it's great that we can connect doing things like this. This right here is definitely what my passion is moving forward and helping others to be able to live out their calling, out their purpose.
Wow, Nurse T, thank you so much. It was definitely a pleasure to meet with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I felt like we we met for such a short time, but so much information was shared.
A
And
lot, yes.
yes, I do. I think so. But I think it's because we're equally passionate about helping nurses, and we're equally passionate about seeing individuals as whole and complete people. And so
Absolutely.
when you see people as whole and complete beings, there's just something about the approach to kind of like helping them kind of navigate this whole thing called life. And
Yes.
also, a part of that, for nurses is their profession. Honestly, the one thing about nursing that I feel like has always been an age old debate, is it an art, or is it just, compassion and hand holding,
Right.
and or is it science? And
Hmm.
so I believe it's all, you know,
Absolutely.
nursing is very dynamic. And I think that you get to see how dynamic nursing truly is when you see nurses who kind of function on the peripheral, and they're not like doing some of the most traditional things, or like having the most traditional pathways in their education. Like from what you're saying, you're in a doctoral program, and you have your BSN, correct?
Correct.
So then anyone listening to that is like, okay, I thought you need a master's. Well, so it's
Right.
like, right, same thing with me. I didn't get a BSN before I went from a diploma nursing program. I did have a bachelor's prior to nursing, but I went from there to a master's program,
Mhm,
and I
mhm.
didn't have a BSN, right? And so for some people, it's like, how did you do that? I thought you needed to do da da da. And so
Right.
it's important just to kind of be able to amplify those options for nurses. It helps nurses navigate and charter territory that you've already, been through. It's like, I don't need you to do everything I just did. If I
Right.
find that you can go from A to Z and you can skip this, hey, do it this way. That's
Yes.
me. I don't think you need to
Yes.
earn your stripes.
No, there's no
Right.
gatekeeping. We need to tell each
Yeah.
other how we're all moving forward. We need to tell each other, this is the route that I went, and I know somebody who did this, knowing that there's options. There's no unnecessary, keeping secrets and keeping what it is. No, we need to help each other in any way that we possibly can.
Yes, that's a great way to end. What came to my mind is when the good book says, "Iron sharpeneth iron."
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
we can lift each other up by just sharing information and lifting as we climb up, as we advance. Also looking uh, behind us and looking at those individuals to the left and right of us, and to make sure we're always motivating each
Absolutely.
other to continue to advance. So thank you so much, Nurse T.
Thank
It
you.
was a
Thank
pleasure
you.
speaking
I
with you again,
appreciate you
and
having
your
me.
contact information. Oh, my pleasure. Your contact information will also be in the description of this video.
Okay, perfect. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thank you.
If you are interested in learning how to advance your nursing career by leveraging your nursing knowledge in a non-traditional role, enroll in our transition coaching program and download a free copy of our My Transition Journal today.
We want to hear from you. Schedule a free consultation or send us an email at advancednurses@acd4n.com or visit our websites www.advancednurses.info or www.acd4n.com.